Today's session is mostly just chatting. It's not really, there isn't much to demo. So, and it's not that long. It's a very short session. Actually, even the exam is easy, and sometimes, just as a hint, sometimes Microsoft asks you questions from the on-premise exam. So the on-premise exam is much harder, but that's why Microsoft sometimes gets some questions from there. So if you're going to, I recommend taking the on-premise exam first, then the online exam. Okay, regarding the deployment, of course. All right, so we'll start with, this is what we're going to talk about today. What is CRM Online in the first place, its limitations, license, subscription, and so on, until we reach the extending part is for developers. You haven't taken anything regarding extension, so so you won't, just keep it in mind. That's all. So what is CRM Online? It's just software as a service. If you haven't heard that term before, it's like having a program, a web application that is hosted on a certain server, and all you can see from it, it's a complete application, by the way. It's not just a website. It has it's bigger than your ordinary website. Even websites can be considered software as a service, but it has to have a target, a goal, a certain service that's offered. Okay, not just a general website for information. You have to get some service. So the service here is CRM. So all you can see is web application, the front end. From yesterday, if you remember, we talked about server roles. That's all you see. It's part of something called the Office 365 family. This includes Skype, Word, Excel, Power BI, a lot of, oh, okay, sound is bad again. Okay, even Exchange, that might be considered Office 365. Okay, so I actually even the data centers for that are that host those services are all around the world. I'll show you a map in a bit. And finally, the trial. This is the trial URL, which you can use to create a CRM trial organization. But of course, you have done this before because you you had a customization session with Nada. So you should have done this and tried it. If you haven't, we'll create it now together. Okay, this is a map of where the servers are. I think there are some servers that have been added recently, so this map might not be up to date. But well, what concerns us is the Middle East one, which are those two, one in Ireland and one in I don't know what that is. I think that's that may be Denmark, maybe, or Netherlands. Yes. I don't remember, but the one that you mostly will work with is the one in Ireland, and its extension, its prefix, sorry, is CRM4. So whenever you create an organization, you'll notice that it's in your name. Where, let's say, for example, linkdev.org dot crm4.dynamics.com. CRM is the one in the West Coast, I think. This dot. That's CRM without any number, and the other ones will take different numbers. So this is an indication of the region. Okay. So why would you bother with CRM Online in the first place? It's the concept of the cloud itself. It's not just CRM Online. So whenever a company wants to save a bit, or even a startup quickly, they go for the cloud. They don't want to buy a complete infrastructure and have a support, an IT team on standby for whatever problems that might pop up. So they go for the cloud. They get the same services. And actually, it's guaranteed, because usually companies that provide those services are big companies. You should go with someone who's trusted, like Microsoft or Google or Amazon, stuff, companies like that. So, and actually Microsoft guarantees a 99.9% availability, which is good. There is higher, but it's backed financially, which means that if there is a downtime, they will refund you, something like that. So it supports scalability, which means that this is very important, and a lot of clients ask about it. What if my users increase tenfold all of a sudden? So there is no extra charge, basically, except for the subscription for the extra users, and the server's resources are increased automatically. Microsoft assigns you extra resources automatically, except for the storage. We'll see why. And it's of course managed, which means Microsoft manages it on your behalf. You don't have to do anything, and the installation is automated. Okay, as you will see. So, of course, industry standard compliance and certifications matter really in Europe mostly. Not even in the US, they are not. They, of course, they are important, but in Europe the regulations are very strict. So this might interest someone who's working in Europe more than us. As you can see, there are a lot of certifications that Microsoft has acquired, and here you can see the growth of CRM Online. It started in 2011 with CRM. I think the first version was CRM 2011. They went online, and then as you can see, it jumped really quickly. And then I think the blue one is the on-premise, and the green one is the online. So as you can see, the online is the online deployments are much preferred, and actually the outlook itself is pretty good for CRM Online. Actually, in our own company, we're getting a lot of requests for CRM Online, so you should keep that in mind. Okay. The good thing about it being in the cloud is that Microsoft offers you integration with Office products. Excuse me, offers integration with Office products automatically for you. So it's easier than on-premise. For example, for on-premise to integrate CRM with SharePoint, you have to do everything manually. You have to host SharePoint. You have to get the URL for the website, create actually the website, get the URL, add it to CRM, and perform some configurations that are done for you automatically in CRM Online. So it makes things easier. Okay, even Word, OneDrive, everything is made easier. Some services are not even available for on-premise. So what happens when something fails? In on-premise, you can reset the server. But in CRM Online, you can't access anything. Everything is close to you. All you have is the UI, the web application itself. You don't have any control over the server. So what happened is that first, if something fails, there are monitoring scripts which try to run well-known fixes. So, for example, let's say if the asynchronous process, which we talked about yesterday, crashes for some reason, so this can be very easily detected, and the script can reset the service. So this is very easy to handle. So what if this doesn't work and it still keeps crashing? Then there is in 10 minutes. Someone on the site will go to the server itself, log into it, and start to try to fix it. If this doesn't work in 24 hours, a team will actually fly in and try to fix the problem on site. So those are the steps. So it's really pretty good and pretty good handled. They have pretty good handle on it, and actually I haven't noticed a lot of downtime with CRM Online. It's rare. Okay, so another advantage is that you could say the availability and the redundancy. So what happened is that this let's consider this is your server, and every time you write data, it's copied in real time to another server in a state or in a place outside of the data center itself, and there are daily backups, I think, as well. And then your data is copied in real time, near real time, as you can see, to a different part of the continent. So if you are in the East Coast, it's copied to the West Coast, so that if a disaster happens on near your server, your data is still secure. Okay, so this is great. This is very important. Actually, I'm sorry, I mentioned that this is daily. No, it's not daily. This is synchronous. It's real time. Okay. So again, as I've mentioned before, a company that is starting up or wants to save a bit of the expenses wouldn't want to get. Of course, it will get software and hardware. That's not a problem. But the problem is the operational costs. Those are a headache. And actually, you have to acquire talent that will handle any problem that arises in your infrastructure. This costs a lot, more than the cost of acquiring the deployment itself. So this is just a quick and simple comparison. This is, of course, this varies a lot. So this is for acquiring the deployment itself. Here you have to have Windows Server and Windows Server license and CALs, remote desktop services, service CALs, CRM Server Pro CALs, and so on. All of those are the licenses, by the way. So this will cost 30,000. On the other hand, for CRM Online, cost 8. That's just the startup. That's for acquisition. That's all. The operational costs will be nearly the same for CRM Online. It will stay as it is, but for on-premise, it will keep going up because you have to add operational costs. So, installation. As you will see, CRM Online is just a few clicks away from getting it up and running. But as you saw yesterday, CRM on-premise is a lot more involved than that. And if you're not a domain admin, it's much bigger headache. If you remember, I said yesterday that if you're not a domain admin, and this is an important question in some exams, if you're not a domain admin, you have to use a configuration file, the XML configuration file. You have to create everything by hand. You have to create the security groups and the users and so on, everything by hand. Okay, so why wouldn't you use CRM Online? First of all, your data, there are some legal issues. Not in the Middle East, I think. It's mostly in Europe as well. Legal issues regarding the data storage. Some governments require that your data is stored, some of your data is stored in the company itself. So that's a law, I think, in some countries. I'm not sure if that's in the Middle East as well or not. But this is an issue that doesn't concern us. Then you have the security. Security was a problem in the past, but it's not really anymore. You have security issues everywhere, even on premise. You can be reached by hackers or whatever, malware software and so on. But actually, it's in my opinion, it's safer to have your data stored in on the cloud now with a reputable company. So if you have heard lately, there is something something called ransomware. I think it's some malware that when it enters your network, it locks everything, and you have to call a certain number and transfer money for them to give you the password. This is a horror story, and actually there is a company that we have dealt with that had this problem, and they had to erase everything because of course it wasn't worth it for them to pay the money, so they just got backups and started everything up again. There is of course the latency and internet dependency. You have to have a connection to the internet. It's not enough to have your network, the internal network, working. So if, for example, if something happens like 6 years ago, that the ocean cable is cut, you have a big problem. You can't run your business. So this is an issue you have to keep in mind. Some companies use a hybrid deployment. This is when you have on-premise and online at the same time. Of course, the on-premise servers will be a lot weaker. They are just used for backup, but it guarantees that if something happens to the connection, you are safe and you can get back up and running again. But it will be much slower, which is better than nothing. Okay, that's a hybrid deployment. Then you have there are some limitations, of course. Some of those numbers have been changed lately. I think the custom entities are now are much higher, but I'm not sure how many entities. Of course, you can't access the database, the file system, the event log, the network, the local network, and so on. If you have as you saw yesterday, you could access everything. I logged into the server and I could read the database. I showed you actually the database. You can do whatever you want, but in CRM Online, no. All you have is a web server, is a web UI. Okay. Now, okay, the license is not. There are two types of licenses in general. I think the perpetual license, which you buy the software itself, and you have access to it indefinitely, and then you have the subscription model, which is similar to what you do when you want to, for example, for your cable TV or satellite subscription or anything like that. And then you have your mobile subscription, maybe. And then this license is not called a client access license like the on-premise. It's called a user subscription license. It's named user basis, just like the on-premise. There are no server licenses. The subscription includes 5 GB storage and 1 production instance. So when you run out of storage, you have to buy additional storage. It costs, I think, $5 per 1 GB, and you can buy more production instances. Production instances are just like the on-premise. A non-production instance is the same, except that there is a bar at the top instead of it being blue, as you have seen. No, it's colored orange, I think, and there is the word sandbox written on it. That's the only difference. There is no other difference, really. The resources are the same, everything is the same. But you have to have a production instance to be able to buy the cheaper non-production instance. That's the only condition. Okay, so the license types. There is something called employee self-service. It's very limited. As you can see, it's limited account and content access and so on. It's very limited. You basically, it's just for reading information from CRM. There is the essential, the basics, the professional, and the enterprise. The professional is just like the essential and basic and professional are the same levels as the on-premise, except that the professional you get something called the unified service desk for free. This is I think it's a Windows application actually, and it's used for managing a call center. So that's one. And then the enterprise there includes everything in the professional, and adds to it something called MDM, Microsoft Dynamics Marketing. It's different. It's completely different and separate from the marketing module inside CRM itself. If you have noticed, there when you open the menu of CRM inside CRM, you get sales, service, and marketing, and then settings. The marketing one in CRM is separate from this one. This one is accessed from outside CRM. I think there are connectors that Microsoft has created which can synchronize between, or actually just give you integration between marketing MDM and the marketing module. There is something called Parature, but I think Microsoft is going to deprecate it. Parature is a knowledge base management is a knowledge base portal. If you have accessed any website that offers services, or you have a problem, for example, with your internet, you can go to the website of the company, of the ISP, check their knowledge base, and you'll find frequently asked questions and so on. This is something similar, okay, but for CRM. There's something called MSE, which stands for Microsoft Social Engagement. It's a service, external or as well to CRM. It's a service where you enter keywords that you want to monitor on the internet as a whole. So, for example, let's say your company is you work at Google, and you want to monitor what people say about Google, and what are their reaction to some events, for example, or some news. So what you do is you enter keywords, say for example Google in general. I want to know what people think about Google, and the server, it's something similar to data mining. It's actually, it uses the concepts of data mining. It crawls the internet, gathers posts from Twitter, Facebook, and blogs, custom sources like RSS sources, videos, and so on, and then it analyzes the words. Of course, it matches the words you specified and removes the exclusions, and then it provides you with something called sentiment. A sentiment is like saying people are happy or neutral or sad, or actually good, neutral, and bad. Good, neutral, and bad, I think, for each post. It performs an average on those posts and provides you with a general sentiment. It also provides you with a map of where the posts originated from. You can see the posts yourself. You can set MSE to automatically create a case when a bad post is found. It creates a case in CRM so that your agent can handle it automatically. And so on. So it provides you a platform to engage socially through CRM. So as we have said yesterday, the licenses are not enforced, except for example, if you have basic license, you can use the professional level. You can use CRM at the professional level, except that you won't get USD, of course. And if you have basic or essential or professional, you can use it at the enterprise level, but you won't get the marketing and Parature and MSE. Those are enforced on the server, but CRM itself, your access to CRM itself is not enforced. Okay? Once you have any license, you can access CRM however you want. So next, this is just a chart for your reference. This tells you what you get with each subscription. It's pretty handy as a reference. I thought I'd add it here. And then you have what would happen if you cancel? For example, if when you first acquire CRM Online, any kind of subscription, on CRM Online, you have to sign an online contract for 1 year. You promise Microsoft that you will keep paying monthly $65 or whatever the rate is right now per month per user for 1 year each month. So when you cancel, that's a breach of contract. So Microsoft requires you to call the billing support, and some fees might apply. And actually, when you're migrating from CRM Online to on-premise, it's fine. You can cancel at any time, and you won't be fined. So that's a positive thing. And then you have the data is kept for 30 days. So if you cancel your subscription after 30 days, you can't retrieve your data. Actually, if you want, you can ask Microsoft to perform a backup of the database and give it to you. That's for free. I think the first time is for free, and then you have to pay money. That was like 4 years ago. I'm not sure how it works today, but you can do the other way around. You can't ask Microsoft to restore a database that you have because actually Microsoft can guarantee that you didn't modify the database, and it has to guarantee the service itself. So if you do something to the database that corrupts it, and you then deploy it, it might cause issues and a headache for Microsoft. So it doesn't do that. But you can ask for a backup of the online database, and they'll send it to you. Storage is shared across a subscription, meaning that if you buy, let's say, 2 production instances and 1 sandbox, they all will share the 5 gigabytes. So that's an issue actually. So today about the links, I'm sorry I didn't reply to that. The links to download the on-premise binaries or setup, you just go to I'll show you right now. It's very easy, and you get Microsoft actually gives you the keys to install it for. So what you do is search for Dynamics CRM 2016 download. Okay, you'll get this one. Okay, the first one here. Okay, then as you can see in the details, you get the server setup. All right, so you just download it and then install it, and the key is actually here. If you can see, there it is. The key is here. This is a trial for 90 days. Okay, so it's a lot of time to try CRM. All right, let me send it to you right now. There you go. And the same goes for the router and the SRS. Yes, you have to pay for a license if you want to keep using it, but for 90 days you can use it with this key. It's fine. It's just for studying and for exams and so on. All right. Okay. Now we'll get started with an organization, with a trial. Okay. You have when you first start with this screen, you have to choose the correct country. So if you choose the United States, you'll have the server in the US, and that might not be ideal for you. So please be careful, because you can't change it later, except in very special circumstances, and you have to actually communicate with Microsoft regarding that, and they might not agree to do it. So be very careful when you are choosing, and choose the nearest one. It's automatically chosen for you. So if your company is in Tunisia, for example, choose Tunisia, and so on. All right, there it is. So let's choose Egypt here, and in the Middle East, it will be set up in Ireland. So it doesn't really matter that much. Okay. You can create more than one trial using the same email and same name. Microsoft doesn't really restrict you. But if you go too far and create a lot, they might not be happy about it. I have been creating it for years now. For big data, well, you have to create your custom application. So It's you can consider it as a storage, and then data mine on it, data mine the data, but it's really not ideal in my opinion. And if you want to do that, my recommendation: don't use the web services and don't use CRM Online. You can use the database, perform data warehousing on it, and then start to data mine whatever you want. Don't use CRM Online. Use the database directly. No problem. Okay, guys, sorry. If you're a robot, you can't use CRM Online. That's a problem. Okay, it takes a bit of time. It usually takes between 5 minutes and I'll tell you about project service and field service in a bit. But to enable field service takes a lot of time, so we'll skip it. I'll just describe it. And here as well, when you choose a currency, you can't change it. So that's, just remember that it's same as on-premise. Okay, let's describe this, the additional services until the setup is done. So, as we have said, CRM Online provides, Office 365 in general provides a lot of services, including CRM, and additionally there are some more services like Exchange Online. I have described Microsoft Software Engagement and Marketing and Parature. There is also Yammer. Yammer is something, it's like a collaborative, sorry, a private social network, as you can see. So it's it's something like Twitter, but for enterprise users, something like that. So when you enable Yammer, it disables the activity feeds in CRM. So if you have noticed, there's something called posts and so on in each record. It removes that and replaces it with Yammer. There's also, of course, SharePoint we described yesterday, and then you have OneNote. OneNote is similar to the ordinary OneNote, but it adds if you have noticed, there is something called notes in CRM in the records itself. Let's see it. Let me show it to you. So you write something and attach, provide the title, and done. That's it. There is a note. So OneNote replaces that with all the functionality of OneNote. Okay. Then you have something. Of course, you have Skype. So if you have here a phone number, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. This becomes clickable. I think it works here. Let's try. It works from outside. You have to enable it though. You have to enable Skype. Ah, there you go. If you click it, it will start. Of course, I don't have it installed, so it will start a Skype call. That's called the handler. The one in the beginning is called the handler. So it tries to open Skype for you. So that's in CRM Online. In CRM Online, it's actually automated. You don't have.
Your question, you did have.
Please write your question in chat if you don't mind. Thank you. Okay, next we have the Office 365 groups. It's a collaboration. It's a way to collaborate between users. Actually, it's to collaborate inside CRM. You just use whatever tools you're given. For example, the post or notes. But for for outside of CRM, if you want to communicate with someone from outside, share with them documents and so on, you have to use something called Office 365 groups. Okay. Then you have Delve. Delve just provides you some information about your organization, what is happening in general. Okay, it's like a news feed. Okay. Then you have OneDrive for business. It's OneDrive. It's similar to SharePoint, but you can see your private documents inside CRM. You can access it from inside CRM. Okay, let's just demo a few things. The organization is not working still. Come on. As we were saying, let's go back. Okay, we created an organization. To buy a subscription, let's expand this, and then you go to billing and purchase services. All right, and then you choose whatever service you want. This is a CRM suite. If you want, if you have 29 days left, as you can see, $65 per user per month. And actually, with 25 users, you get a free sandbox instance. With 10 users, you get free access to social engagement. This is the one that I was talking about. It's pretty expensive, so if you just buy 10 licenses, you have this for free, which is a great offer. Then you have some direct support, Parature, and so on. You have a lot of services. Okay. This is to buy services. To upgrade the storage, you go to subscriptions and okay, and then at the right here, the actions you can actually add, change the storage and so on. So it's not available here, I think, because it's a trial. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm in the wrong place, but yeah, it's here. It's you can add subscriptions here, increase the storage and buy more organizations. So that's for the storage. Next, importing data. As I was saying, you can import using Excel sheets. I showed it to you yesterday, and then you have the SDK code. The SDK, actually, you have to write your own software that maps the data from a source, for example, SQL Server or any other source, another sort of CRM, Salesforce, for example, and map it yourself in C# or whatever language you're going to use. There are third-party tools like something called Scribe. There is SSIS, the integration services of SQL. There are lots of tools that you can use. There is something called, the most famous is actually Scribe and SSIS. There is also something called Data Loader Service. That's part of something called Lifecycle Services for Dynamics. This is a very new service. It's recent, and what it does is that it uses Azure to read from a source millions of records, if you will, and then imports it for CRM for you. You don't do anything. You just specify the source, what you want to query. You query the data and then map it, and it will add it to CRM. But of course, you have to buy some sort of service here. In CRM Online, as I've said, you can't give Microsoft your SQL database, they won't import it into CRM Online. The other way around works. You can ask for a backup, and they'll give it to you. Then we have, okay, I'll show you the configuration tool. You extract it and then go to Tools. There is a folder called Tools, and there is something called Configuration Migration. This tool is Microsoft's. It's not custom. Microsoft created it, made it, and it actually migrates data from CRM to CRM, and not at the same time. You have to first download the data and then upload it. the way how this works is that when you start it, you have to create a schema first. So creating a schema, let's connect to something. Okay. It lists the organizations for you. And then you're ready to create a schema. You can select a solution or use the default solution. As you know, the solution is a grouping of entities and resources from CRM. So it will display here the entities that are included in this solution. For example, we choose account, then you choose a field here. Okay. Keep adding fields, and there is the relationship. Those are end-to-end relationships. For one-to-n, you have to go to the entity and choose the lookup. As you know, it's a foreign key. For one-to-n, there is a foreign key. And then save and export. You give it a name, for example, test, save. Let's not export now. Then you want to close this. Let's close it. And then you want to export the data. Login. Okay, you choose the file, the schema that you have created. Give the exported file a name, and then export. Well, you have to check the log. If something happens, you have to check the log. Skip this for now, but now you know you have to export, and you know how to export. When you want to import, you use the data.zip that you exported, and it will create connections. You just choose the data.zip, a zip file. When you open it, it will invalid import file, of course, because that file is not used for importing, but this button will light up and just click import. Right, that's it. It's a pretty easy tool to use. So let's go back. Next are the users. The users must be added through the portal. In on-premise, you go to the server, to the Active Directory, and you add the users yourself. But and then you go to CRM and add the user again. Create a record for the user. Go to the security in on-premise. You go here to security. Users, and then you choose new user. You write here the login, and then username and then first name and last name. This doesn't work in CRM Online. In CRM Online, this is done automatically. You go to users, active users, and then add a user. You specify the first name, last name, display name, which is a combination between the two, if you will. This is the one which will replace new user here, and then the username, which we will use to login, and it will be at this extension, this domain. His location, it's just for show, for information, and then the password, should it be auto-generated or not, should it be sent to him or not, and then you add. When you add him, he's still not added to CRM, and you can't add him yourself. What you do is you assign a license to him. When you assign a license, he's added to CRM. Then when you remove the license, for example, in the future, you want to remove the license from, you don't want him to use CRM anymore, he becomes deactivated in CRM. He's not removed, and that's very important. So if you want to prevent a user from using CRM, you remove the license. When you remove the license, of course, you can use it to you can give it to another user. Okay. So even if you delete the user, he's not deleted from CRM. He's just deactivated as well. Okay. As you have said, it's automatically synchronized, and the user can be deleted from CRM. Non-interactive users are users that access CRM through the back end. They don't use the interface. Of course, you have to have a minimum number of users, of licenses to be able to use non-interactive users. You have to, of course, because you can use CRM. If otherwise, you can use CRM without any license. And then it doesn't require a license. Five maximum users, and you have to add the user. Then assign him a license. Go to CRM, change his type. I'll show you here. Add and assign a license. Go to the user record in CRM, mark him as non-interactive, and then go back and remove the license. Let's check it quickly. We added, let's say, the admin, but we can't, of course, we can't change him. Here the users. Let's go to Ahmed. Sometimes the users take a bit of time to be synchronized. So if you add a user and don't see him right away, it's okay. Okay, where is the access? Access mode and non-interactive. After you change him to non-interactive, go back to the portal and remove the license from his record. This way, he won't be deactivated from CRM and he won't be removed. He will be able to access CRM, but using the SDK. Okay. He won't be able to actually log in like this and use the interface like this. No, he has to use code to be able to access CRM. Of course, there's something called AD Connect, Active Directory Connect, Azure Active Directory Connect, which can synchronize the users from your on-premise directory to CRM Online. In on-premise, you have two options. You can access, you can log in using the domain /user or user@domain.com. In online, you only have one option, which is user@domain.com. Okay, at domain in general. AD Connect synchronizes the user names with their domain, but it does not synchronize the passwords. So he has to create a new password for CRM Online. Otherwise, if you want him to use the same password, then you have to enable something called, as we have discussed yesterday, single sign-on with ADFS or yes, ADFS. You have to use ADFS. Yes, there it is. So you implement SSO, the same password is used everywhere, one ADF integration per tenant. The expression that tenant refers to the whole account. So when we logged in to the office portal, this is called a tenant. This whole account is called a tenant. Okay, and this is a subscription. The one we're choosing here. This is a subscription. Okay. So let's continue. Okay, there are a decent amount of admin roles. Each has certain functions. They are listed here. I don't have to go through them. But know that the global admin can do anything and everything. He's added to all services. You have to. There is a user. Actually, there is something called service admin. This one is added to the service. So if you to the service itself, for example, CRM, if you assign a user to be as an admin, he is automatically added, and he is added in administrative mode. So he's an administrator. Okay. Okay, adding an admin is easy. Okay, that's its role, and then you specify what type of admin you want him to be when you're creating him, or go and edit the user and assign him a role. Okay, so this is a user or global or custom. A custom, if you want him to be an administrator in CRM, you choose service administrator. Okay. The instances. As we have said, there are two types of instances, the production and non-production. The production is just the normal instance you see in on-premise. The non-production sandbox, it's used for different purposes. It costs less, assign the same resources, and you get one free if you buy 25 licenses. But remember, as I told you, you'll see the bar at the top. Here, this bar, the blue bar, will turn orange, and the word sandbox will be inscribed here in this part in the middle. Other than that, there is nothing. There is no difference. Security groups can be assigned to an instance which controls the access to this instance from users. So you can give a user a license. He'll access all instances, and then use security groups from the portal, the Office portal, not in the CRM itself, in the portal. You can use it to control his access to a certain instance. Okay. Of course, an instance is a dedicated database. So in SQL Server, and actually Microsoft doesn't share databases between users for security purposes. So when you buy a license, you have a dedicated database. The properties that can be changed are name, URL, type, and security group. When you change production to non-production, I think you have to have one production on at all times. I'm not sure, but you can change between them. You can switch the instance type, reset, delete the data. It's used only for the sandbox. Of course, you can delete the whole instance. You can copy to sandbox. And there are two types of copying: full, which copies everything, and minimum, which copies only the users and customizations, not the data. Admin mode actually locks the instance, and only the administrator can access it. All services are stopped as well. Okay. To access the instance properties, you have to go to the Office portal. Let's close all this. Close. Okay. You go to the. Let's go to the home page. To access, to control the instances, you go to the last tab at the bottom, and then choose CRM, Admin Centers, CRM. Okay, now you'll see a list of instances. Then you can control it. You can open it like this. You'll see this, and you can edit it. You'll edit the name, the URL, and so on, and you can add solutions. I'll show you the solutions available. Okay, you can change the name, the URL. The purpose is just for information, and then you can change the type, and you can add a security group. You can assign a security group. Okay, we'll go back. Okay, and then the solutions, you can install solutions that are provided by Microsoft. They are the same as the solutions you install in CRM itself by hand. There are few available, like for example, Voice of the Customer, which gives you the ability to create surveys for customers. This is a pretty neat one, but it's actually, you can't use it except if you have an enterprise license. So that's one. Then you have what else? As you have said, a tenant is an office account. You can have those are just some limitations bound to a geographical area, as we have discussed. If you want to change it, you have to request it from Microsoft. Updates are performed twice a year, in the fall and spring, and an admin is notified if an update is pending actually, and he has to approve, and then go to this tab here, go to the control administration center, go to updates, and if an update is available, you will be told here there are no updates currently and none is scheduled. So it will tell you here, and then you have to schedule it. You have to give Microsoft 2 dates. If the first one fails, the second one will be used. Admins actually, if you can't ignore it permanently, meaning that at some point you have to install the update, because they won't allow you to keep going without updating your organization, because they have to move on. They perform some optimizations and so on. So it's beneficial for them to keep that you are up to date. Okay, I showed you the version. There is a mobile app. I'm not sure I talked about it yesterday. You have an offline mode in the mobile app where viewed records are cached but can be edited. Created records are in draft mode. As you can see, there are just some. That's how you the properties of using the mobile. Must be given privilege. Yes, you have to enable the user to actually use the mobile app. I'll show you how to enable an entity for usage on mobile. So if you go to solutions, okay, you create a new solution. Let's say test here, and then the publisher, whatever, and here. Okay, let's enable the account to be used on mobile. It involves us a few steps. So let's see them all in this demo. So the first thing you do, you scroll down to the bottom, and then you'll see that there are a few settings here related to the mobile and Outlook. The first one is we have talked yesterday about Phone Express. It's the old version of the mobile app. It's used up to CRM 2015, and after that you have to use the new mobile app, which is this one. When you enable for mobile, you enable it also for tabs, by the way, for both of them, and whether you want it to be read-only or not, this entity to be read-only or not. After you enable it for mobile, you have to go to the forms to dedicate to actually enable a certain form to be accessed. Okay. Are you sure everyone doesn't have a sound? Can anyone hear me? Okay, let's continue. Okay, so you have to enable the form. Actually, if you enable the entity to be used on the mobile, automatically it will use the main form. The Mobile Express is for the old one. It's not used for the new app. So this is the form that will be used. So account, This form, you'll see the fields and the tabs in it. You'll see it on the application. But then you have other options. For example, let's take this tab, the summary tab. The summary tab. You can disable it from being viewed on the phone by using this button, available on phone. The same goes for sections, available on phone. And finally, for feeds. Okay, so you can control all levels and what is displayed on the phone. Okay, I think the layout is a bit different on the phone, so you have to try it yourself. Okay, then that's all. Dashboards can be enabled from mobile as well. I've showed you how to enable and disable the forms and sections. There are security roles that have to be enabled. Mobile settings and solution. I showed you all of this except the security roles, which you know where the security roles are. Here, security, and then security roles, and then you have to search for it. I think it's in business. Okay, let's check. Yes, CRM for mobile. You have to enable it yourself for this security role. Okay. The last part is actually related with. There are still a few parts left. Okay, the email is limited to either. We have talked about email, the email router, server-side sync, and Outlook. Outlook is used the same in CRM Online and on-premise. Email router is used as well the same. The only difference in server-side is in server-side sync. It used Microsoft used to limit server-side sync configuration to Exchange Online only. This has changed lately, and Microsoft now supports Exchange on-premise in both directions. So this used to be a limitation. So this slide is out of date. You can use if you update CRM Online to the latest version, you can use it with any configuration you like. Okay, reports. If you create a report, you can't use SQL. Of course, to create a report, you have to write a SQL query to fetch the data. In CRM Online, you can't because you don't have access to the database. You have to use fetch XML, which I described yesterday. It's similar to. Okay, let's create here. If you go to Advanced Finds, you can create a query. For example, this is a query, and then download fetch XML. You create the conditions here, and then download fetch XML. Okay, save it, open. As you can see, this is XML, but it defines the entity, it defines which columns, it defines the order, the filtering, the conditions, and then the joining. You can join entities and so on. This is similar to SQL, but in XML. Okay. The maximum to be queried is 50,000 records. Above that are truncated. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. This is for coding, which doesn't really concern you at this point. There is also something called plugins, and the plugins must be in sandbox mode. Just keep it in mind for the future. Which actually gives you a few advantages. It's more secure. It doesn't give you access to SQL and as I have talked, SQL network, the local network, and the event log and the file system. But it gives you automatic handling of, for example, if the plugin enters an infinite loop, it can kill it. It has a maximum execution time of 2 minutes. Which is actually a pretty good thing to have, because if a plugin enters an infinite loop, it can hang the whole server. So this is not ideal. It gives you monitoring and statistics, which is not enabled in